All right, folks, welcome back to Mike and Maurice's Mind Escape. We have episode number 172 tonight. This is actually the 3-year anniversary of doing Mind Escape. So thought we'd talk a little bit about the past 3 years and look back at some of our guests and episodes and see how far we've grown and how dumb we also used to look.
It's been quite the journey, my friend.
Yeah, it's been fun. I can't believe it's been 3 years, actually. I mean, it doesn't really seem that long. I mean, yeah, it seems like we've been doing it for a little bit, but it definitely doesn't seem like 3 years.
It seems very fast because now we're here and it's like, wow, where did the 3 years go? But then if you look back and think about all the stuff that you've done, you got married and all the changes that have happened in our lives, you're like, oh, I guess that was 3 years. But yeah, if you just think about it as, oh, now we're here, it's like it was a blink of an eye.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, like I said, a lot's changed. So before we get into all this stuff, we're going to do our normal plug and go and head on over to indrasweb.org and sign up to get an alert when the app goes live. I'm going to try and make this thing go live for the first or maybe one of the first days of the year. That's what my aim is here. So
that'd be amazing.
Look for that. When that's live, we got to start spreading the word and get as many people on there as possible. So I think that I got to get this thing live at this point. So that's the goal here for the new year. And again, go to indrasweb.org, sign up to get an alert, and you will get an email when it goes live. And then head on over to Patreon at patreon.com/mindescapepodcast. Now we have all the tiers set up correlating with the Discord roles. If you don't know what Discord is, it's a messaging app. So if you want to chat with us, we've done one fan chat episode where we talk with some of the fans, and that was actually pretty fun. So we're going to do a lot more of those going forward. And so the way we broke these tiers down before we get going here, for $2 a month stays the same. You're a Mind Escapee, and you get exclusive guest episodes and segments. We've got one up there, a new one with Ben Holt, where I do a live breathing exercise and almost pass out. But
I did it too, man.
But man, did I feel great after. I felt high as the sky. So
yeah.
Check that out. It's an alkaline breathing exercise on there. So yeah, we've got stuff with Ben Holt, Sean Cahill, recent one with Randall Carlson, Laird Scranton, Dr. Gregory Little. You name it, it's on there. If we've had a cool guest, we've probably done a Patreon with them too. So, and where things start to get interesting now, this is a new initiative we're going to be doing on our podcast. It's called Secret Episodes, or if you're for $10, you become a secret escapee. We're going to do some cool stuff. We're going to do some experiments. We're going to be doing some outside the box stuff, maybe some comedy episodes. At some point, since Maurice and I are musicians, and you probably have never heard any of our stuff unless you're listening on the audio stuff. In that case, you've heard me. I created the intro song, but we're going to probably maybe do some jamming at some point too, like a live jam session. So that might be kind of cool. What else? Oh, I'm going to be recording we'll be recording the first secret episode in the next few days here. And then I'll put that up for all of our secret escapees. $25 will get you into the Secret Escapee Lounge. You'll become a lounger, and you'll get early access to those secret episodes. And then for $35, you become a Morrisite or a Mauriceite, which means you will receive a piece of Maurice's art every month on top of all the other benefits of being a Patreon member. $50, you become a Top Escapee, and you receive Top Escapee Immortality. And yeah. You're just an amazing person that likes to support the show. So,
well, if you're for $50, you get access to all this stuff. So
every tier you go up, you get access to the tier before. So
beautiful.
Yeah. So I'm excited about the secret episode. We're gonna call them Secret Sodes. So
Michael likes to create his names.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's a good name for it. I'm just gonna be honest. When I said it, I'm like, that sounds awesome. So
well, I won't argue with that.
All right. What's going on, my man? Happy 3-year anniversary.
Same right back at you,
cheers.
My friend. Yeah, cheers. We don't drink booze, but we do drink coffee.
I'm drinking coffee right now. Maybe you're taking a little sample of some live resin as well. I don't know. So I want to look back at kind of what we've done so far. Is there anything before we get going I'm going to go through like the timeline and history and give all the shout outs, but I told you to come up with your top episodes. Do you have a list?
Yeah, and actually, one of my top episodes would fit perfectly right here. It's the first episode we ever did.
On consciousness, right?
Yeah, it's funny. I was listening back to it, and we pop in, and you're like, this is a 3M production. What's funny is I've listened to that episode probably more than anything because when I go on, when I fly, I don't have anything to listen to or watch. But for some reason, I have our first 2 episodes like in my iTunes. So I listened to the first 2, and I that's probably the episode I've listened to the most. So it has a special place in my heart because of that, but also because it's the launch of the Mike and Maurice, aka now the Mind Escape show.
Yeah. Yeah, when we started too, I mean, we knew we wanted to do stuff with like weird mysteries, ancient mysteries, UFOs, metaphysical stuff, but we really didn't have a direction. We were just chatting with ourselves and having some of our close friends on and stuff. So it's kind of interesting how things have evolved from there.
Well, we have a lot of cool friends and a lot of friends that are into some of the esoteric stuff, along with, different religion and comedy and all. We were throwing a lot of stuff at the fan. We didn't know what was gonna blow back into us, but I think our show has taken on a natural progression towards the good.
For sure. Yeah, no, I mean, I really like the direction we're headed in now. I think we've got, when you look at the core topics that we focus on, all of it's based around metaphysics and metaphysical stuff. But, the ancient civilizations and ancient mystery stuff, all the psychedelic research and ancient psychedelic stuff, and then, a lot of the, again, esoteric stuff and just anything having to do with the mind and consciousness, pretty much. So I think that we have kind of a core, grouping of what, with a, little sprinkle. I know a lot of people like the Fish and Grateful Dead references too. So it's kind of cool that we've got people sending me emails saying they appreciate that. So.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting too because we started off, we had no clue of the direction. We just knew the topics that we wanted to discuss. We were kind of fans of Joe Rogan, and we liked, a quarter of the things he was doing, the alien stuff or anything esoteric. But then when
like John Anthony West, and, Robert Schoch, like all the ancient mystery types people that he had on, or the earlier episodes, he did a lot of that kind of stuff. It seems like he's kind of veered away from them. I mean, other than the alien stuff recently, he's kind of veered away from it.
Yeah, but we were kind of taking that model, but then just doing all the episodes that we actually wanted to focus on, because I'm not really into MMA or any of that stuff. So
right,
I never listen to those podcasts. I don't know if you do, but that's
there's a few of them that I'll listen to. Yeah, I mean, I to be honest, I just enjoy the show, but there's definitely ones that I don't listen to for sure. But I mean, it is what it is.
But I was going to say, as we started the show, we had no idea what was going to happen. We kind of had some of our friends on. We had some of our friends that were a little more knowledgeable about certain topics and things like that. But then you got connected with a publishing company.
So shout out to Inner Traditions. Yeah, I mean, what I did was, I think our first author was actually R.N. Voot. So Spirit in the Sky, talking about ancient DMT use and stuff like that. So, but in terms of what we are now, I think it's completely evolved from, again, the early episodes weren't about anything like that. And then we got into kind of the author game, and R.N. Voot put us in contact with Dick Kahn, and we start, DMT and My Occult Mind. And then from there kind of snowballed. And then, started a relationship with Inner Traditions, and they started sending us a bunch of guests and people. So.
And that was the beginning of the next phase in our evolution.
Absolutely. So why don't you talk about your top shows here?
So we're starting with, like I said, the first episode. That was, that's a good place to start because that's where it all started. And I don't even think we had video during that one. I think it was all audio, right?
The first 3 were audio. I want to see. Yeah, the first 3 were audio, and we recorded them around this time 3 years ago. I remember I came into Detroit for Christmas vacation.
Yeah, the holidays.
And yeah, we ended up, I think the day or two after Christmas, we started, doing all that stuff. So
I have that episode, and then I'm sure you're gonna get into some of these other ones, but there was I really enjoyed the ones with Lee Adams right off the crack. He was a guy that he was into hiking and things like that, so we had that kind of connection. But then also he just became probably one of the first early friends of the show that we didn't know as a friend already.
Right.
So someone that we met through the show, he became a real good friend of ours. We've had him on multiple times, and that his episodes, I remember that. It's we've done 172 of these bad boys, and when I was going back through the list, some of these episodes I totally forgot about, and I was like, oh man, that one was amazing. But so I really like that Lee Adams one. What a relationship we've created with him. Dr. Penny.
Yeah, Dr. Penny Sartori.
She was a great episode, just because we're really into the near-death experience and stuff like that. And then to piggyback off that one, the Dr. Alexander and his wife, I think, or was that his colleague?
Dr. Eben Alexander, and his co-author of the book I forget the second, but he was the author of the book, Proof of Heaven. That was the book. But yeah, I don't know what they wrote a book, something, you can probably look it up, but they wrote a book together. I forget the name of it. That was a good episode.
That in the Dr. Penny one, and then the Eben Alexander one, those were a couple of the episodes I think that our show started to take on more of a serious tone. And then of course you can't forget about Tom Lane. Tom Lane was a great episode, and just his knowledge of the sacred mushrooms. Again, we come from, going to concerts and magic mushrooms and this and that, and a lot of kids in their minds, the magic mushrooms are more of like a party drug. Again, like you're listening to Eminem and he's going to parties and taking these things, and we didn't really, at least I didn't realize the severity of what these substances were, what they were used for, and the medicinal properties that were within them. So having a guy on like Tom Lane really shows you how serious this stuff is, but at the same time, you can use it as a therapeutical release. And there's definitely some good value to taking these things in a setting with an intention and going down that road.
Absolutely. And I think you're right. I mean, Tom Lane was actually the first one. I see Natural Born Alchemist is in here too. He was actually one of the first ones we had on too, talking about plant medicine and sacred, plants and the ancient use and indigenous use and things like that. So I think that once you start to learn about the indigenous use of these psychoactive compounds and also the positive effect that they have in those communities, I think that's like when our kind of paradigm started to shift. Because we used to just, like you mentioned, when we were younger, we would just take these psychoactive compounds and not really think twice about it. It wasn't really attached to any sort of like mystical or therapeutic, it wasn't used in that context. So to have that context, I think is huge. So,
well, I never realized how far the mushroom went, and to learn about those rituals and to, Quetzalcoatl and all that stuff, that really percolated my mind. It took me to a new thought about what these things could do. And then it propelled me into wanting to learn more and more about those substances.
Shout out to Home Mycology. Just popped in here.
Yo.
So, okay, so you've got, you said the first Lee Adams one, you said the Tom Lane one, the Dr. Eben Alexander and Dr. Penny Sartori near-death experience ones.
I really am into the near-death stuff, because I think it can, first of all, you have doctors who may or may not be spiritual, but the fact that we have, some real doctors getting into this kind of fringe stuff shows you that even the top minds, even the top scientists, they really don't know what happens after you pass on.
Well, nobody does. I mean, look, there's hints. I mean, you can look at people that go into like a lot of traditional near-death experiences where people see deceased family members and the light and the tunnel. A lot of that's actually associated with cardiac arrest. And They did a study, the U of M study on the mice with the DMT, where they induced cardiac arrest at U of M on these mice last year, and they found that DMT is produced in the brain, so and not just in the pineal gland. So what does that mean? Does that mean that maybe DMT is associated with some sort of chemical process that happens when we die? But that doesn't, to me, that still doesn't rule out any sort of metaphysical thing happening either. I mean, our energy does something; it goes somewhere,
Right.
Even if it just goes back to the universe.
But those are the reasons that I connected with those episodes. And then we had Tom Lane, and then we had Doctor Little.
Yeah, Dr. Gregory Little, for sure.
And he was probably the first guy that we had on who actually has provided content for History Channel and things like that. And I just remember you do some back info and read the books. I really did kind of go in some of these episodes a little.
Yeah, I'm getting yours out of the way because I've got all the shit here. So
okay.
Just give it. So that was the last one. Was that your the top 5?
Oh no, I got some stuff. Again, these aren't necessarily the top 5, but again, I go into some of these episodes a little naive and not really knowing how pronounced these people are. So when we had Dr. Gregory Little on and he was telling us about all the stuff that he provided for the History Channel and things like that, I'm an up and coming filmmaker, and I'm down for the content, and just to learn that this guy was he took it to a whole new level, and he's a vast array of information. So Dr. Little, again, this is more than 5, and then Andrew Gallimore was another one that just these are like notches in our that just kept pushing us top.
Yeah, what is that? Was that episode 72 maybe? The Alien Information Theory with Dr. Andrew Gallimore, I believe.
Yeah, and you could sense something special surrounding that episode. I knew we were talking about it for a couple of weeks before he came on, and we knew he was doing all kinds of breakthrough work with DMT and things like that. So that was a big one. And then, I got to just put this guy out there because he knows some stuff, but I just feel like he's just like me and you is Sean Cahill. We always have a blast with him, and he's been on a couple of times, but we just joke. And if you guys become a Patreon or a Patreon,
do it.
If you become a patron, he has some great bonus episodes on there.
Yeah, the most recent one, I think he even pulled up a picture of a UFO. And I think he
hint.
put it on the screen.
But I always just like talking to him even before or after the episodes because we kind of we're kind of all this. Me, you, and him kind of have the same humor, and we just get each other and we can goof around and just be ourselves.
Absolutely. So, I mean, we can jump back to that, and we're going to get to some of those people that you just mentioned again. But I wanted to start off with, like, again, the episodes let's call it pre-authors. So, like,
right.
How many did we do? Like 30 or 40 episodes before we started having authors and more well-known people. Not that, again, we love the episodes that we did with our friends and family and, all those people. But yeah, so I wanted to give a shout out to Chris Emmerson, who was one of our first guests, and he was like on 5 or 6 episodes before we had anybody else. And he does the music on some of the Maurice's Adventures videos that you listen to. I know a couple people have commented they like the music and the vibe. So
yeah.
If you want to know who that is, you can go watch a few of our first episodes, and he is the guest, Chris Emmerson. And then we had his brother, Danny Emmerson, on, who's your good pal and my good pal. And
he's my roommate.
He's your roommate. And good guy. We haven't had him on for a while, but I believe he may have sampled something on that episode. You can go back and watch it. And we also had Sarah Emmerson on, who's Chris's wife.
I saw that one.
We've had all the Emmersons on, but Sarah Emmerson, we talked about fish and her experience at fish shows. We did one with Rick Emmerson early on, who is Chris and Danny's father, and we were talking about Steiner. So, if you're interested in Steiner's philosophy and all that kind of stuff, that's a decent episode.
Number 20.
Yeah. And Mac, our buddy Mac, who he's got a nice studio and he's a producer and stuff. He was on, I think we talked about he had a weird ghost experience and something similar sort of paranormal thing that we discussed with him when we had him on. We also talked a little bit about the Detroit music scene.
Yeah.
Big shout out to John Hogan, who's my godfather. And early on, he was a big, spiritual advisor to me when I was going through a couple of rough patches. So shout out to him. We're going to have him back on to figure something out. Maybe he'll be wearing a King Tut mask. I'm trying to think. Andrew Tischler. Maybe we'll get him back on again soon. We haven't had him on in a while.
Oh, that's one name I forgot. He was right off the go.
We've done a couple good episodes with him. We did one on philosophy and Plato, Socrates, and Kant, and also I think we did one with him on the Dunning-Kruger effect. That was a pretty good episode.
That was a great episode.
I'm trying to think what else. We did maybe another one with him. We've talked about UFO. Oh, Tom Campbell. That's what we had him on. We talked about Tom Campbell and My Big Toe, which is theory of everything and simulation theory and that kind of stuff.
I got to go back and watch this, and I recommend people that have just got into us go back and watch some of these middle groupings because there's a lot of knowledge on there. And again, I know you have great memory, but if I read a book, I gotta kind of read it a couple times to suck out the information. I think most people, you only retain 20% of what you read the first time.
I mean, I retain it all, but
yeah,
I'm a weirdo.
Michael can put his hand on the book.
It's a curse. Yeah, what is it? It's like Edgar Cayce. He falls asleep on the book and wakes up and knows the whole thing.
Can you teach me Spanish?
I'm trying to think. Yeah, I mean, I did take AP Spanish in high school. I probably could teach you some conjugations. At least I do remember some.
I need to learn some of that.
So, and then we've got, Lee Adams, like we mentioned. I'll get to Lee later because he has been a close confidant and friend of mine, and we do a lot of chatting offline about a lot of these topics, even more in depth than we do on this podcast, because I feel like some of the stuff, gets super advanced and super out there. Not that I don't think I just think it would be boring to get to some of that stuff. But so shout out to Lee. So Aaron Voot, let's start there as far as authors. Aaron Voot was our first author guest. And he wrote Spirit in the Sky and De-Evolution Cycle, and he has a new one out. You can go check out his stuff. He's also got a line of T-shirts and hoodies and stuff, and you can find him on Instagram. His shirts are actually pretty cool, the designs and stuff like that. So if you like that kind of stuff, check that out.
And he's all about relating the as above, so below type.
Yeah, the ancient Egyptian mythology with ancient entheogens, psychedelic use, and all that kind of stuff, and making all those correlations.
He's talking about actual constellations resembling DMT, right?
Yeah, in the Spirit in the Sky, it's about correlating the
Orion.
myth of Orion and Osiris and everything to the DMT molecule. So big shout out to him. He was kind of the first one, and then from there he actually recommended that we have Dick Kahn on the show, and Dick Kahn is the author of DMT and My Occult Mind, part 1 and 2. I think he got rid of part 1, but you can still buy it. It's just a condensed version. It's DMT and My Occult Mind Light, I believe is the name of it now. So shout out to him. They've been 2 huge supporters of the show early on, and we really appreciate that.
Yeah, Dick Kahn was amazing.
Yeah. And Dick, he's done a lot to the point where he was doing experiments basically on himself and his own mind. And I mean, that kind of level of psychonauts hard to come by. So.
Oh, that brings up another guy I totally forgot about, Paul.
Yeah, we'll get to Paul. I got a list. I got a timeline list here. So yeah, we've had Dick Kahn on a few times. I mean, we've had him on twice by himself, and then we've had him on after he did an ayahuasca retreat with who you mentioned, Paul Schulze, and I believe the guy's name was Sam, the other guy.
Mm-hmm.
And then shout out to my good friend. I haven't seen him in a while. I hope he's doing well. But Matt Diedrich,
mm-hmm.
We grew up with him, and he had his own addiction issues, and then he went through school and everything. He used to be in like banking, but then he got out of that, and since he went through his own addiction stuff, he went to school to learn how to help other people, and was working on that. So that was a good episode.
That was a great episode. That was actually when I started to realize that we could use this podcast to maybe bring some issues into the light and help other people. I think after that one, you started talking about some of your mental issues, and I started talking about mine. But the bottom line is everybody's got some issues, and we're here to help and, work together.
Yeah, I mean, look, mental health is super prevalent. I was just talking about this with my wife. Like, I don't know anybody that doesn't have any sort of mental issues, whether it's depression, anxiety disorders, more serious stuff. There's people with schizophrenia, bipolar, all that kind of stuff. So there's so many things out there. And even people that don't suffer from those things, there's other, sleep, or insomnia, like everybody's got their own stuff. So,
and the people that don't are just good at hiding it.
Or lucky. I mean, if you
True.
really don't have anything wrong and you're fit and you take care of yourself, like consider yourself one of the lucky ones. So yeah, shout out to Matt, and maybe we'll try and get him back on the podcast at some point too. So
that would be a great episode to check in on him, see how he's doing, because he was going back to school to be what was he going for?
Yeah, like a drug counselor or social worker, like something like along those lines. But I mean, he's a smart guy. Obviously, went to school with him. He was always a smart dude. So, let's see. Oh, here we get to Paul Scholze. That's, and he is. We've had him on twice. Apparently, they found something they didn't like about the episode because those episodes were demonetized. But I really like.
Really?
Yeah, he kind of.
I mean, he's a wild Oscar. We were talking about some stuff. Well, he was going off, but I enjoyed the guy, and he's another guy that kind of gets our humor, and we were riffing back and forth, but I can definitely see how that might have went a little bit too far.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of,
Is there any way that we could get our hands on those and put them on the Patreon?
Yeah, I mean, they're up now. You can watch them on ours. They just aren't. They didn't like what it was about, apparently.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
Well, it was a straight episode about DMT and.
Well, yeah, and then the other thing is, when you do stuff, when you talk about that kind of stuff too, if there's no scientific or context for it, you got to be careful because, they'll get you. Not that, again, I don't care. I mean, there's no way of really knowing, but even I think the episode we did with Lee Adams where we talked about psilocybin and like OCD and mental health and my own personal experiences and how I've been helped, that same thing with that episode. So I don't know if it's the person reviewing those or what, but
I don't think a person's reviewing them. I think it's an algorithm listening for words. And if you
Mr.
say
Roboto just don't like it.
We don't like it.
So, all right. That was Paul. So we had Paul on for 2 episodes. Shout out to Paul. And Alex was in here earlier. Alex from Natural Born Alchemist. We had him on pretty early. The first episode we did with him, he kind of taught us and told us a little bit about his own iboga experiences and ibogaine and all that kind of stuff. I had coming in, some of this stuff I know a lot about, some of it I know nothing about, and iboga I knew nothing about, so that was kind of an interesting episode. We also talked about alchemy and practical, physical alchemy and spiritual alchemy and the differences and all that kind of stuff. So, and then the second episode we did, or I should say I did with Alex, I think you were out of town or you were busy or doing something. He was actually at the World Ayahuasca Conference, and that was kind of an interesting episode because on his end, he was just walking around, showing what it was like all about and, stopping and chatting with some of the people and stuff. But that was kind of a weird episode, but it was good. I liked it a lot, but definitely one of our more different things.
Yeah, that'd be fun to go on location. I'm definitely up to do any of that, but we'll see what happens.
You talk a big talk, sir. I'd like to see.
Yeah, I'm going to a mound, baby.
All right. Well, I've got 3 Michigan mounds I'm going to send you. We're going to start shooting some stuff here, so you can get some good footage, and then maybe we can make like a short doc or just like a short, whatever. Maybe get Dr. Gregory to talk over it or something.
Yeah, for sure.
Bernie Taylor. So that episode, his whole thing was the whole cave art, the different cave arts from around the world, and how this one specific cave, he found all these different formations and animals, and it was about like the apprentice artist, or the apprentice and the artist, and the relationship, and kind of how that came to be, and constellations and the correlations and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of interesting episode. That was one of our first authors as well, Bernie Taylor. We've talked to him in a while. Maybe we'll have him back on at some point. And then Jack Napier, who Trip Whip guy. We've had him on quite a bit. I was trying to get him on again before Christmas. It's just the times didn't line up because you were busy and stuff. You had, your girlfriend in town and stuff. So it just didn't align, but we'll try and get that in there. But shout out to Jack if you're out there listening. I know his actual, I think his channel got demonetized too. His whole channel got, yeah. So if you follow Trip Whip, you can support him through Patreon, and I believe still, and he's got merch and stuff. So, but yeah, so he's been kind of, he was our go-to for a little bit because he was having a lot of experience with entities and stuff like that. Laird Scranton we've had now 4 times. So shout out to Laird. Those are some of my more favorite episodes that we do. He's just such a wealth of knowledge when it comes to like symbolism and etymology from across cultures and the different, he's into comparative cosmology of the ancient people and stuff like that. So
yeah.
Let's see here. Oh yeah, of course, the Dreaming Jaguars. We've had them on a couple times now, Justin and Paul. So if you're not familiar with the Dreaming Jaguars, go check out their YouTube channel when we're done. They have a fantastic YouTube channel where they make these like real, crisp,
high quality,
videos of them either interviewing people or them doing their own thing, but they're always usually talking about dimethyltryptamine and psychedelics in general. So yeah, we've had them on twice. That's always good stuff. The second time we were talking about the experiment they did with Dr. David Luke and the whole ESP or telepathy on DMT. So check that out. I think we talk a little bit about that on that episode. Let's see here. Oh yeah, we did one with George Howard, who is the co-author of the Younger Dryas Impact Hypothesis paper. You can follow him on Cosmic Tusk or go to cosmictusk.com. And he's a cool dude. He's on Twitter a lot, so if you're on Twitter, you can check him out on there. I think he just got back from a Egypt trip too, so he had a lot of pictures he was posting and stuff. So if you're into the Younger Dryas Impact Hypothesis and all that, he's a good person to follow. I'm just trying to work my way through here. We got a lot of people that I want to thank, so I'm just trying to get through here. Brian Keating, he was probably the most serious scientist. Not that the other ones we haven't on are serious, but Brian Keating is a physicist, and he created a telescope that was used to try and detect the earliest evidence of the Big Bang via gravitational waves and stuff like that. That's a pretty cool episode. So that episode was called Losing the Nobel Prize, because that's what his book's called, Losing the Nobel Prize, which is actually a pretty interesting book if you like science and like the history of science and even like some of the dogma aspects of science, like how some of these people that are up for the Nobel Prize, it's very cutthroat. They're all trying to like bring each other down and bring each other's hypotheses and theories down and that kind of thing. So it gives you like an inside look on how competitive science is, and it's not always just scientific method. There's a lot of other stuff at play. Let's see here. Have I brought up any other memories yet, Maurice? Have you?
Oh, I'm getting, yeah, it's all washing over me. I like I said, I got to go back and watch these things because there's so many juicy tidbits in there that I barely remember half the lessons that are learned. Again,
I should make you go back and watch all of them and write me a report. That's what I want.
Yeah, it's going to be like a 10,000 word essay. I
want a podcast report ASAP.
Yeah, that'd be hilarious.
You done with that rundown yet, Maurice? Give me that rundown.
What's the yep.
Yep. Okay. Anthony Maturo. He wrote the book Thousand Golden Arms. He's also the dude that runs the Daily Shroom on Twitter. So go follow him on Twitter if you have not already. He's a good follow. Posts a lot of like current psychedelic news and that kind of stuff. Let's see here. Dr. Penny Sartori, one of your favorites. She is a near-death experience researcher, and she's created like experiments. So when people leave the body, if they can remember some of these targets and things like of that nature. She also worked in intensive care or end of life, something with I think older people at the end of their life, and so she saw a lot of people transition to death. So she's pretty well versed in all that stuff. She's written a few books on the topic. So if you're not familiar with Dr. Penny Sartori, go check out her work. She's pretty active on Twitter as well. And as Maurice mentioned, I mean, we have some stuff in store for a near-death experience documentary, but there's a lot, like obviously with everything the way it is right now, we can't really get around too easily, so that might have to wait till all that stuff's figured out, because we have to, some of these people, we got to get in person, so.
Plus, we might want to cut our teeth on something a little more streamlined, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what the universe presents to us.
Yeah. Yep. Martin Sweatman, who wrote the book History Decoded about Göbekli Tepe, was it Prehistory Decoded? I believe is the title. Let me look this up because I want to get it right. Prehistory Decoded. And that's about like Göbekli Tepe and his hypothesis about the archaeoastronomy that correlates, the constellations found on the T-pillars at Göbekli Tepe. And his dating is not quite goes as far back as like a John Anthony West or Graham Hancock, but it's kind of in between there and the mainstream stuff. So you can check out his stuff. He's pretty active on Twitter. He does have a YouTube channel as well where he makes videos showing the correlations to the constellations and the T-pillars and everything. So if you have not checked that already, that's a good one if you like all the ancient stuff and Göbekli Tepe and stuff. Ben Besley, we had him on discussing Dr. Claire Graves, the spiral dynamics and like the evolution of consciousness and how there's almost like a set pattern for how consciousness evolves. It swings back like a pendulum one way to, like one spectrum to another and like thinking. So that was kind of an interesting episode. I don't know if you remember that one.
That one kind of does slip my mind, but if I saw the person,
if you go back, you told me at the time it was one of your favorite ones because it's like it kind of makes sense when you think about it. Like even in so far as like the way we've thought about the concepts on this podcast, where it's like you believe this, oh no, you won't, you don't believe that, or you won't believe this, but you'll, like that whole thing. It's like the evolution of that. So like one minute you might, or one few years you might believe in God, and then here's a couple things that you learn, now you don't believe it, and then it swings back and forth and evolves, not just about that, but just everything in general and the way you think about things. So
yeah, I think I do remember that one. There's been a couple of episodes that are real eye openers.
Matt Tiller, who we've had on 4 or 5 times. I know he's been on a couple times when you weren't on too. Actually, one of our more popular episodes where we did a review of the Joe Rogan Bob Lazar interview and also the Bob Lazar documentary when that came out. I want to give a shout out to Matt Tiller too. He said something like he was hacked on Twitter or something, and he's not going to be doing as much research or something anymore. And I just want to say, keep at it, bro. Just keep doing it. Keep grinding.
Seems like a lot of people have been running into issues either with Facebook or the YouTube or what's going on there. Yeah,
I just changed a bunch of stuff around too. There's a lot of weird things happen, afoot. So. But yeah, I mean, shout out to him, and hopefully he figures his stuff out and anything we can do to help in the future.
Well, he's always welcome on the show.
Of course. Josh Bepachat, who wrote the book Ancient Psychedelia, who when we had him on, it was all about, it was mushrooms, everything, mushroom symbology.
Oh, yeah.
Jesus was a mushroom. And we love mushrooms, but I think that one
might have taken it too far.
No, that one I took more of that interview. I remember I took an adversarial role. I wish I would have just, did a normal interview. I don't know why I did that, but yeah, I don't know. Because I don't have all the answers. I'm not pretending to have all the answers, but
right.
Well,
hey, you're always welcome to speak your mind. It doesn't mean that it's right or wrong. It's just the way you think.
Right. I mean, I think that I'm as guilty of this as any, but you get a lot of people, when you start learning things and getting a little bit of knowledge, you look at other people saying things that maybe haven't learned those things yet or aren't aware of those things yet, and then you have somebody like him who he said that he's been studying this stuff for a bunch of years, so he's firmly planted, on his beliefs and his whole thing, and that's fine. As far as I go with that now, I'm not cemented or planted on anything. If you bring knowledge or facts or data or can show me something or give me an experience or bring me in, in on what you're thinking, I'll listen. I'll see what the deal is. I'm not too good for anything as far as that, I truly believe you can learn something from everybody. And from being a musician, that's where I actually learned that, is like when I worked for Guitar Center for a long time, there would be people that would come in that maybe weren't the best players, but there would be like little things that they would do that you just pick up or be like, oh, I see how, it'll help you break through to some things. So I kind of carried that onto the other aspects of my life, where it's like these little tricks or these little techniques or whatever of somebody that might not be the most complex or complete player might help you. So I truly believe you can learn something from everybody.
Absolutely.
Let's see here. And shout out to Home Mycology. I haven't forgotten about you. We're going to try and do something with you, get an episode, or we're going to try and work something out with that. Let's see here. Okay, Josh. Okay, so yeah, then we had, you mentioned earlier, the Dr. Andrew Gallimore episode when his book came out, Alien Information Theory, about DMT and how DMT can put you possibly in like an extended DMT experience can put you possibly in communication with these entities, or maybe some sort of information can be taken from a longer stay in these realms.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be the extended DMT stuff. So obviously, you got Rick Strassman and Andrew Gallimore. I think other people are getting in on that at Imperial College, if I'm not mistaken. So
have they done that experiment yet?
I don't know if they have. I haven't seen any papers or anything come out recently on it, but. And
how do you even do that? Don't you have to keep it kind of underground?
No. I mean, they publish it. It's science. No, it's not. Not for the scientists that are studying it.
Oh, all right.
That's how you get access. How do you think they're doing all these tests and stuff?
Underground.
No.
In the Amazon.
No, that's not how this works at all. It's like the Rick Strassman. That's why Rick Strassman was such a big deal when we had him on, because he kind of paved the way for all this stuff that's happening now. Because actually,
but even he was afraid to talk about his first experiences.
And science kind of screwed it up initially in the 50s and the 60s when they said, oh, there's no medicinal benefits here, and then screwed everybody over. And now we're kind of back to where we should have been 50, 60 years ago, 70, 80 years, whatever. So, we're going to have some scientists and guests on. We'll talk about that stuff in the future coming up as well. But yeah, it's a great book, Alien Information Theory, if you have not read that already. Let's see. Brian Scott, who we just had on again recently. I actually met Brian when he just got his YouTube channel started, and now this dude's cranking. He's up to like 250,000 subscribers.
Very good. Congratulations, Brian.
Congratulations, Brian. And he's done a tremendous job. He actually, though, just got the boot from Facebook for no reason.
That's what I was talking about, yeah.
Yeah, they didn't give him any cause. They just took his page and his personal page down without any, they didn't even give him a reason why. It just happened. So I'll be interested to see what happens with that. But
I think he got it back. So.
hopefully they figure that out if they have not already. So, and if you have not already, check out Brian's channel and his podcast called The Reality Revolution. And his channel is also called The Reality Revolution. And it's, if you like guided meditations, he reads, older books and esoteric books that aren't copywritten anymore. So you can do that kind of stuff. So if you like all that kind of older and more metaphysical stuff and dimensional stuff, that's your guy.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Lane. We've had Tom on like 5 times. So we did 4 episodes with him on sacred mushroom rituals. We did one on, the first couple were on sacred mushroom rituals, like how, how do you do them, kind of the ins and outs of them. And then I think episode 3, part 3 we did with him, we did the metaphysics, the Mesoamerican metaphysics that are accompanying, and he showed us some of the codex. There was like a slideshow with all the Mesoamerican codices that have all the information on the ancient Mesoamerican, mushroom uses.
Yeah, that was a sweet episode.
And then part 4 was all about Maria Sabina and his ceremony that he did with Maria Sabina, and information about how people become sabias and sabios and curanderos and curanderas and all that kind of stuff. So, And then the 5th one we did with him, we actually talked about solar energy, because that's his expertise, is solar panels and providing solar power for housing and stuff like that. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff.
An interesting twist of events.
Yeah. And, people that want to save money on, electricity or off the grid or whatever you're trying to do.
Save money and save the earth.
Yeah. Let's see here. Oh, the Dr. Eben Alexander and Karen Newall one that you mentioned on. We talked a little bit about his book, Proof of Heaven. Again, did you ever look up the other book that he wrote with her? Look that up just so we can give proper context here. Let me see.
The Map of Heaven.
Is that with Dr. Eben Alexander and Karen Newall?
Come on.
Yeah, come on is right. You are not a young Jamie. You're an old Jamie is what you are.
Well, I typed in
My fingers hurt.
I mean, this guy's written a lot more books than I thought. What's the woman's name?
Karen Newall. She does like sacred acoustic stuff, I believe, is like her main thing. All right, well, I guess that's going to take you forever, so I'll just continue on. Let me know when you get there.
Yeah.
We've had Chris Cottrell on 2 times. The first time we talked a lot about like the end of the Ice Age and the Younger Dryas stuff. And then the second time we had him on, we were talking about super volcanoes, comet impacts. He's got a degree in geology. I believe he's a teacher as well. He runs the YouTube channel Dabblers Den, so he's got some great stuff on there with slideshows and stuff. So if you're interested on geology and comet impacts and super volcanoes and seismic activity, that's a good channel to follow.
So which book did you mention already?
Proof of Heaven is just Dr. Eben Alexander. Karen Newall was newer into the mix. I think they... They just they wrote a book together. Something.
Yeah, Living in the Mindful Universe.
There you go, Living in the Mindful Universe.
Bim bam boom.
Somebody learned Google.
Well, he's got a bunch of information and stuff. I had to find Karen.
So yeah, check out Chris's channel Dabblers Den. You can also follow him on Twitter as well. We did a good episode, I think earlier this summer, on all that stuff. So, Jude Currivan, who wrote the book The Cosmic Hologram. So that's actually a really interesting book. She was a fun interview. The audio quality on that was a little hit or miss, but maybe we'll get her back on in the future and do it again. She's got a degree in physics. She's also got a degree in archaeology. So she kind of was a polymath and knew a lot about the different topics that we talk about on this podcast, from, Göbekli Tepe stuff to physics and quantum physics, and her theory, about the holographic universe and how, entropy in her book is reversed in the sense that the more, the older the universe gets, the more data and the more organized it becomes, as opposed to the reverse, which is what entropy normally means. So entropy normally means everything was completely ordered and now everything's becoming disordered. So she has kind of a reverse outlook on it, but it's data based. So when you're talking about like the cloud and like where information goes and that kind of stuff. So
yeah, a lot of these topics are so vast that we almost need these people to come on for a couple of different episodes. One's almost just scratching the surface.
Yeah. Chauncey mentioned Yellowstone's gonna blow. I don't think so. I think, Chauncey, listen, I think we're gonna be okay for a while. But yeah, we might want to get that figured out. It's supposedly, if you base it on the timeline, every 200,000 years. So we're still a ways off from that. However, I think JPL looked into a way, like, how would you mitigate the disaster if that were to happen. I think that they threw around the idea of shooting cold water into the magma chamber, like the rhyolite chamber, preventing or trying to dampen, the explosion. But I think that there's other problems that arise when you do that too. So
it's like a bidet for a volcano.
I guess, you sick bastard. So yeah, check out Jude Currivan's stuff. We had Seriah Azkath on from Where Did the Road Go? If you have not checked out Where Did the Road Go podcast, please go do that. It's a great podcast. Especially if you love, a lot of his earlier episodes were a lot of ancient mystery stuff. He also does a lot of consciousness and paranormal type stuff now. So if you like paranormal stuff, or you like, Bigfoot, ghosts, aliens, all that kind of wonderful stuff, that's a good podcast to listen for that. So, and Seriah is a good dude. He also does some metal radio show too. So if you like metal and heavier music, that's his thing as well. Darren Grimes from Grimerica we had on, and we talked about, that was right after he had his first DMT experience, so I think we talked about that and psychedelics in general and philosophy and stuff. So that was a fun episode. Again, I think the audio might have been a little bad on that, but those were the days where we were still trying to make the transition from, because they got rid of Google Hangouts, because we normally did our podcast on Google Hangouts early on, and then Google's like, well, we're not doing that through YouTube anymore. So
did that ever come back, or has that just been gone?
I think you can still, I think Google Hangout's still a thing. It might be a pay thing now, I don't know, but it's not through YouTube anymore. So
right.
But I like our setup now. I have a lot more control. I can pull up graphics, so it worked out for the best, because you couldn't really do that. And I can use this DSLR now, so my thing looks crisper. I still urge you to get one of your DSLRs plugged in so you can look crisper, but
I don't know though. I've watched our show on a big screen, and I think that the compression of YouTube crushes the quality of that.
Yeah, but how soon after? Because if you have to wait, if it's live, you have to wait like a few days for it to get to its full. Just like how when you upload your Maurice Adventures, your hiking videos, if you don't let that thing get to the whatchamacallit, the
4K. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's weird because the last time I uploaded the thing, it was the shortest video. It was 5 minutes, and it took a full day to get to the 4K, which isn't even real 4K. It's like 2100.
Yeah.
it's
well, you would know
ridiculous.
about this stuff. See, I feel like it would if we could. I mean, let's see what happens in the future. But if I end up moving and maybe we can do it in the same room, it would make things a lot better, a lot smoother.
Oh, absolutely. And the other thing is like the screen, the shot that we're using isn't even the full screen, and it's still pixelated.
Right.
That camera that you're shooting with, it should be crystal clear. It's like, posting a picture on Instagram. If the picture's blown up the size of your wall, it might be pixelated. If it's crunched
Right.
down
Well,
to
here's
the
the
size
thing.
of a phone, it's the crispest thing you've ever seen.
I run it on 540 because of if you run it at the higher resolutions, like 4K or whatever, it'll take 5 days for it to process afterwards. And then also, it doesn't even, I don't know, for some reason, if you watch it on the smaller, like it looks good at 540 still. Because remember we talked about this, it's more about the camera than it is what size and what rate it's at.
Right. Yeah, well, it's all about the sensor within the camera.
So whatever, we're always evolving. I think our show's been looking pretty good lately. It'll always, of course, get better as technology gets better. So
Well, the first step was to get that lag issue taken care of, which we've accomplished. So little by little.
So Seth Kostek. So this episode we did on like quantum physics and his idea of his theory of non-duality, which was a mixture of current science paradigm stuff mixed with old ancient paradigm Eastern philosophy type stuff. And you weren't on that episode because I think we tried to do it and it was like bad connection with you on it. So then him and I just did it, I think is what happened. I don't know if you remember that. But yes, you can check him out on Twitter too, Seth Kostek. He has a YouTube channel as well where he does these short videos on physics and quantum physics and all that kind of stuff. James Lady. So that was our only Bigfoot episode that we did. We actually know him personally, and he is a Bigfoot researcher in Michigan. He looks for the Michigan Sasquatch. Mm-hmm. And while I'm not a physical Bigfoot believer, I believe it might be some sort of epigenetic memory we have or some sort of weird dimensional thing that's happening. I don't think that there's an actual physical Bigfoot out there, but it was good to have him on, though, because, I mean, he seemed to be more serious than, like, the people I see on TV and, like, the forums and stuff. At least he was realistic about it, you know?
Well, look, all the power to you. I'm not going to poo-poo any ideas, but I've been in the woods a lot in my life, and I'm not too worried about the Bigfoot.
I'm not going to poo-poo any ideas. I've really been out there, and I don't believe it. That's what
I didn't say I didn't believe it. I just said I'm not too afraid of the Bigfoot. Now, a grizzly bear, I'm afraid of.
So, yeah, I mean, that brings in the question are people seeing bears walking on 2 feet? You know, some people say...
I think in the Pacific Northwest, it's a very likely chance that you're seeing some kind of brown bear.
Here's the thing.
Is the one.
Show me a dead... Why can nobody find a dead Bigfoot? Like, no Bigfoot ever fell off a cliff or got shot in a hunting accident. You know what I'm saying?
Well, apparently they're masters of the skies, and they know the woods like no other, so they can hide. But again, man has been how many new species of mammals are being found? Yeah,
again, I'm not. This is just my opinion on it. I've looked into it somewhat, you know, and I just am not convinced. In fact, my wife wanted to watch some show on it, and I watched this thing. I'm like, yeah. This is not going well for these people. So
again, I'd still listen and take interest to it because I'm out in the woods. If this guy's telling me that there's these little structures being created.
Well, what's the most famous one that James Lady was talking about? It's like the Bob Gimlin, or the guy
the old one with the beast,
where the guy stops and like turns a little. It's the famous Squatch look, you know, where it's walking and it does like a half turn, and then and he was pointing to things like how if you were in first of all, like Planet of the Apes, those suits that they wore in that movie, were in like
the best ever made,
and those were after that video was made. So he was bringing up points that I guess I could see what he's saying, but again, I feel like the guy himself, I think that made that video came out on like towards the end of his life and said we faked it or it was something like that. I don't know. So
Well, we'll put it like this. When I was a kid, I used to love going into the library and looking up old Loch Ness Monster books and the Bigfoot. And I do remember being probably like 6 or something watching. I don't even know if sci-fi existed then, but that video popped up. I was at my dad's house. A tear came to my eye. It scared me.
yeah, we'd go camping. They'd scare us. They'd shake the tent, go ah. So
Great. No
yeah.
wonder we have so many problems.
It's the Squatch.
Yeah. Let's scare our kids to the in the woods.
So yeah, shout out to James Lady, and let's see here. Okay, yeah, Ian Jaydid. We've had him on a couple times. He wrote 2 books. The first one, Tripping the Field, and then the second one was called Migration. The first one is about it's fictional. It's about lucid dreaming and how to lucid dream, and a lot of like philosophical things happening in there too. And then the more recent one, Migration, that we just had him on, it has more to do with like how we integrate technology with consciousness going forward and what that could mean and all that kind of stuff. That was actually a really good episode that we did with him, the second one. So actually we might have done 3 with him. I don't know. I'd have to go back. So yeah, check out Ian Jaydid's stuff. He's also active on Twitter and he's also Instagram. He's on Instagram as well. He's actually a really good artist too. I don't know. Have you ever checked out his art online?
Yeah, that stuff's amazing.
Yeah, I like his artwork a lot. He's a really good artist.
We actually have had a bunch of great artists on. Tischler. There's a lot of people that do art. Yeah,
Tischler's an amazing glass blower. So Andrew Tischler, go to Andrew Tischler on Instagram, and he sells glass pendants, and he might make pipes. I don't know. I haven't even asked him. I don't know, but
well, maybe not. I don't know, but he does do crazy glass stuff.
Right. Yeah.
We should try and have a collective of art somehow. I don't know.
Yeah. That might be a good to get people, like a little art section. Maybe you can organize that, and we'll put it on our website or something and help.
Yeah, I can contribute a piece.
Help
or
some
two.
of these artists get some more action.
Oh yeah.
So we've had Joe Moore on 2 times from Psychedelics Today. I really like what they're doing over there at Psychedelics Today. So it's Joe Moore. I believe the other guy's name's Kyle Buller. And they have a lot of similar people that we have on the show as far as psychedelic guests, but then they have a lot of they've got a lot more of the science side of things, and they're working on training therapists and stuff on how to implement psychedelics and entheogens into therapy and different things like that. So they've got different training and program, and they're doing a lot of cool stuff over there. So I really enjoy those, and he's kind of a kindred spirit, and that he loves psychedelics and philosophy, and he's a big fish head and stuff. So those were fun episodes.
Yeah.
So big shout out to Brothers of the Serpent podcast, Kyle and Russ. They've kind of started, I think, right around the same time. I don't know if they've been around a little bit longer, but yeah, we started clicking right away and tagging each other in posts and stuff like that. And Kyle and Russ are awesome. They're super nice dudes, and they've got a great thing going on over there. And they also do a podcast called Cosmographia with Randall Carlson. So check out both those podcasts, Brothers of the Serpent and Cosmographia, if you have not already. So, but yeah, they're just real cool dudes, and like I said, they're building a nice little thing over there, and we appreciate all the love and support that they've given us. And
absolutely,
it's nice that it's nice to have other friends, on other podcasts, like. Because you look at this thing, it could be very competitive in the sense that like everybody's just a dickhead to each other. But I like the way the synergy and some of these like-minded people have come together. We got a nice little community where we share each other's stuff and make recommendations and that kind of stuff. So,
well, we're putting the good energy out into the universe, and it seems to find us and bring it right back to us. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so yeah, again, shout out to Brothers of the Serpent, and go check out Brothers of the Serpent and Cosmographia. So Dr. Gregory Little, we've had him on 4 times now. First episode we did with him was the Denisovan Origins. He wrote a book, or was the co-author of a book, Denisovan Origins, with Andrew Collins. The second episode we did with him, we did on Edgar Cayce and like Atlantis and the Hall of Records and all that kind of stuff. The third episode we did with him was on UFOs and like plasma energy and plasma physics and how he thinks plasma actually might have some sort of consciousness behind it as well. And actually, the stuff I've been looking into, I'm not ruling that out of the picture as well. So, but yeah, Dr. Gregory is actually one, and we'll get to this later. We'll have honorable mention type stuff, but he's one of my favorite guests in the sense that I feel like you can just talk to him, and he's a psychologist, but I don't think that he does the whole psychologist shtick thing. I think he's just a really easy person to talk to. He understands the flow of conversation. He understands the things he's interested in, really well, as far as ancient civilizations, the mound stuff. We just did that episode. That was the fourth episode we just did with him, which was ancient, the Native American mounds of North America and South America. And we did a Patreon with him too. So that episode's all slideshow, but that might be what people best know him for, other than the psychology stuff. But he's just a really easy guy to talk to. He's really cool, and if he doesn't know,
on some serious adventures in his life too.
And he doesn't know something, he doesn't know something. That's what I like, people that aren't afraid to be like, okay, I don't know this, so I'm that's how you learn things. That's how you grow. Pretending like you know everything will get you nowhere in life. So
right.
So yeah, shout out to Dr. Gregory. We had P.D. Newman on. He wrote the book Alchemically Stoned, about ancient psychedelic use and the occult and alchemy and masonry and all that kind of stuff. So we talked a little bit about DMT and like the Philosopher's Stone. We talked about mushrooms. We talked about a decent amount of things. He's actually a really cool guy. He's very knowledgeable. You can tell PD does his homework. So I'm trying to think. So yeah, check out Alchemically Stoned if you have not already. Moving on here. Is there anything you want to add before I keep going?
Oh, you're bringing them all back.
I need to get back into that Ben Holt breathwork. If anybody wants to see me
I'm getting lightheaded as ass.
Yeah. If anybody wants to see me almost pass out, we did a Patreon episode with Ben Holt, which is one of our more recent episodes, and I did this alkaline breathwork, and
I did it too. I don't know why you say
It looks like you didn't do anything, bro, but I did go back. A harder look, I will admit that you did it, but you didn't do it like me. I'll say that. I was giving 150% on that thing. So.
Well, yeah, I wasn't trying to get lightheaded and pass out.
I was trying to get, breath work high, bro.
And I'm also aware that I was on a microphone, so I'm not gonna breathe into this thing like a chimp.
Well, you saw what I almost passed out, so.
No, but doing those, it starts off intense, and then when you hold it in, he's right. You can hold your breath way longer than you think.
I did, yeah. I held it very long, but yeah, you're right. I mean, I did get a little intense with the sounds. It's a real ASMR treat for you.
Ladies and gentlemen,
it's a real ASMR treat. I think we even say somewhere in there like you might get hard if you listen to this or something Jesus. Like that's in there. Let's see here. We did that. Okay, so yeah, Dr. Michael Masters. He's an anthropologist and professor. I'm trying to think what school. Maybe you can look it up. It's like Montana State or something. Look up Dr. Michael Masters. But he's an anthropologist, and he wrote this book, Identified Flying Objects, where his hypothesis with the UFO stuff is it has everything to do with time, and that the UFOs are time-traveling machines, and the actual extraterrestrials are us from the future, and we are the time travelers coming back into time, which I think that people have speculated obviously on this in the past, but he actually did a lot of research and to time and, that whole thing. And then from like a human standpoint, since he's I believe it, did you look it up?
What was it?
Dr. Michael Masters.
I'll check it out.
Yeah. But
This guy acts like he told me to do it or something.
I just said look that up. I just said. I don't know why you can't do what I say. Yeah, so shout out to Dr. Michael Masters. So yeah, so his idea is that again, we are or the UFOs and the extraterrestrials are us from the future coming back to either observe or learn or who knows. But with what we know about so far, physics and quantum physics, I don't even know if they think time travel backwards is possible yet. I think time travel forward obviously is possible.
Well, can't we slow down time? Like if you're traveling at the speed of sound.
But there's the arrow of time. I mean, there's a lot of things. What we talked about too, like time dilation. So like the more gravity there is, the slower or the slower time goes, or the more time slows down. So there's like this thing called the atomic clock experiment where they drop clocks from different altitudes, and that you can see from like the way gravity works that the more gravity there is, the more time slows down. So maybe the fact that we're on the Earth's surface, there's this amazing gravitational field that allows us to experience time in like a slowed existence. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's one of the theories, is everything has happened at once.
Yeah. Did you look it up yet?
I typed this guy's name and I can't
God,
find it.
I'm gonna lose
There's
it.
50 of this guy's.
Oh, Maurice. So yeah, Dr. Michael Masters. So check out his work. Identified Flying Objects. He's also on Twitter. I think his Twitter handle's maybe at Morphotime. I don't know.
What's the name of it? What was the name of his book?
Identified Flying Objects.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
I'm gonna type it in 2 seconds. I'm gonna pull this thing up.
Well, I typed his name and there's a lot of chiropractors apparently around with the name Michael Masters.
Yep, Dr. Michael Masters, professor of biological anthropology at Montana Tech University. Boom, 2 seconds. Pulled it up.
I'm sorry. Would you just type in his name? Because I did.
Yeah, I did. I typed in exactly.
I apparently have a chiropractor consultation tomorrow.
Yeah, you do, and they'll get you straight. And they'll get you straightened out, pal. So.
Yep.
So yeah, check out his stuff. We might get him back on again in the future. I don't know if
that was a really good episode because it kind of supported some of the theories that you had about the aliens. Well, I don't know if that was your theory or not, but
look, I think there's. This is the way I look at it. Is like you're a musician. You play music. You've written things, I'm sure, that you thought, oh, this is original, and then you realize, oh, it's not, because you'll hear it somewhere else, or you'll hear a piece of the cadence in something else, or a song, or you'll be like, oh, I just rewrote a Fish song.
Well, usually it's music that I'm not like super familiar with, because then you'll blatantly know that you're just copying something. So usually it's a song that you've heard, and then it's in your subconscious. And
right. Well, that's what I'm saying though. So I mean, maybe I heard that you're right somewhere else, and it just made sense. I know I've heard Rogan talk about it too.
Yeah, I think that's where I heard that.
I heard it. I'm trying to think where I heard it, but then the idea, it might have been Rogan actually. I don't know, but the idea of that being us in the future because they know when you're in space and like through space travel, you lose bone density. So between losing bone density, and your body being altered in space, imagine evolving in space. We don't know what that looks like because we've been kind of resorted to just evolving on Earth. So,
well, you can look at Elon Musk. That might be halfway there.
Well, I mean, we'll see what happens. I know he's been making some big pushes, with all the rocket stuff, and you look at all the innovation stuff at Tesla. I mean, we'll see where it goes, and the Neuralink thing too. I mean,
I just bought a share of Tesla.
Did you?
Stuff ain't cheap.
I'm sure it's not.
And I mean one share.
Maybe we'll do an episode on that, on like all the marijuana and psychedelic stock stuff. I mean, because you know a decent amount about all that. So.
Well, you've been opening my eyes to some of these new psilocybin companies that are emerging out of Colorado and California and stuff. I think that's the next big thing. But
yeah, we just got to watch too, because I think there's ones that are doing productive things, and then I think there's ones that are just trying to capitalize and make loot. You know, I would like to see the ones that are trying to make an honest difference succeed, and the ones that are just trying to get in the craze. You know.
Well, it's like that one company, GW Pharma, was the first company to give CBD to a kid that had epilepsy.
Yeah.
And these are the pioneers. Everyone was afraid. Obviously, CBD has no psychoactivity, but then after that, you get these other people that jump on board that are more worried about the money. Obviously, these companies are doing it because they're making money, but at the same time, they can do something good for the environment or good for humanity. So I don't know. When I buy stocks, I really try to gravitate more towards either a green company or companies that I use and products that I actually like and support and stuff like that. But I'd rather support a company that's looking for the better of humanity.
No, I agree. That's what I was trying to say. Like I said, I think that you see people trying to like copyright compounds or names and this and that. It's just like, come on, let's do this. Let's do this the right way. And actually, when we have some of these psychedelic scientists coming on here in the next couple months, I'm going to be asking some questions as far as I want to know why they keep isolating these compounds in these tests. Why aren't people taking the whole thing for the entourage effect? Is there too many compounds and chemicals in there for them to, as variables within the experiment, the scientific method? Or is there some other reason? I'd like to know what's going on there. So
Right.
Okay. So yeah, Dr. Michael Master. Okay. Shout out to Chris Wolford. I think he's on Twitter a lot. You can check him out on Twitter. Big UFO researcher. He's always knows what's going on. Usually he's a couple steps ahead of everybody else. He really knows what's going on within the UFO community. And he's a fellow Detroiter. And so shout out to Chris Wolford. We love you, bro. Keep looking for the truth and keep us in the loop here. And again, follow him on Twitter. UFO Twitter. Again, shout out to UFO Twitter. So
that's a good handle.
Yeah, UFO Twitter is single-handedly doing a lot of stuff for the UFO community. So, let's see here. Oh, a big one, Dr. Rick Strassman. Shout out to Dr. Strassman. We'll probably have him on again in the future. That one's tough because of the connection issues. So that one we didn't even do live because of the connection issues. I think we did a Zoom call. But we'll see what we can do here going forward. But shout out to Dr. Strassman. Obviously, he's a pioneer with all this stuff and kind of paved the way for a lot of the stuff you're seeing now. And yeah, I mean, all of his research. And he was super generous with his time. There was a couple times that the interview didn't happen because of the connection stuff, and he was pretty patient, and we finally got it in, so we appreciate that. And also... again, his research, and that one was kind of a more scientific approach to his stuff, and he actually shared, I don't know how many people at that point he had shared his personal DMT experience with, but he told the story, which we've turned into a clip. I think it's one of the main clips on our intro page that Maurice made with the imagery of him describing his first DMT experience was actually with Terrence McKenna, I think in the 80s, I believe. And he experienced the DMT entities in a waterfall. So it's a pretty cool story. And I know a lot of people that have interviewed him that he didn't mention that. So shout out to him. Shout out to Suzzanah Weiss. She is a journalist, and she was kind enough to come on and share her experiences with the different ceremonies she's done, iboga and ayahuasca, cambo, all these different experiences. And, she's a more of a pop writer, so she integrates this into more pop culture topics as well. So shout out to her.
Yeah, she was a good guest. She was a little more of a change of pace, but definitely a great
Look, I'll talk to
time.
anybody. If you have, some interesting stories or you have something to say, let's do it. Let's talk.
Usually a writer, someone that blogs and stuff like that, they have a pretty unique outlook on the world.
Right. Let's see here. Shout out to Peter Sjostedt. He is a psychedelic philosopher, is what I would consider him. I mean, he's all about metaphysics and big Spinoza guy, big Nietzsche. He's pretty active actually on Twitter. I came across him actually. He did a TED Talk where he was talking about ancient psychedelic use and all the way from Plato all the way to, I think he was talking about like William James and all that kind of stuff too. So shout out to Peter Sjostedt. Again, he's active on, active on Facebook as well. So he's on Facebook and Twitter. You can check him out. He's a good guy, and I like talking about philosophy and philosophical ideas, and we don't always have a lot of people that are well read into those topics. So it was fun to have somebody that knew a lot about psychedelics, but also knew a lot about philosophy of the mind. So that was a fun episode. And I don't think that one got viewed enough for how good it was, but
yeah.
Let's see here. We'll have him on again. I want to talk to him again because there's some things that have come up since that I found in philosophy and psychedelics and stuff that I think we could have a good conversation on. Sean Cahill. So we've recently had Sean on for a second time, and we also did a Patreon with him. But Sean was witness to part of the events of the Tic Tac UFO incident in November. I think it was 2004, I believe, on the USS Nimitz. So most people know about, so he was on the USS Princeton, which was right by the USS Nimitz. And most people know about the accounts of David Fravor seeing the Tic Tac UFO and the other two pilots. But Sean has some interesting experiences himself, and he's into like meditation and psychedelics and altered states and stuff. So whenever we have him on, it's always a fun chat. As Maurice said, he's very easy to talk to. He feels like he's just one of your friends.
Yeah, we'll invite him on our canoe trip.
Yeah. And when we get when Indra's Web goes live, he said he wanted to start a remote viewing group on there too, so that should be fun. So again, big shout out to Sean Cahill. We love you, bro. Keep doing it. I think he's actually working on a documentary now with somebody else that I saw on UFO Twitter, so we'll keep an eye on that.
Yeah, he's actually one of the only guests that was ripping on me. Really sticking it to me.
I think Randall got you a couple times too.
Oh, yeah,
Caught you off guard a little.
Yeah. He goes, "Oh, this guy's talking?" Hey, I can say I was made fun of by Randall Carlson,
Yeah.
Who can say that?
Yeah, there you go.
Perked me right up.
Let's see here. Oh, Mike Brancatelli. Mike runs the Psychedelic podcast.
Great guy.
Yeah, he was a fun chat. He's a psychonaut, but he also likes a lot of the weird and esoteric stuff and, metaphysics and UFOs and all that kind of stuff. So if you haven't listened to our episode with Psychedelic, go check that out. That was a fun swap cast. Let's see here. Donald Carroll. That was actually a really interesting episode. So that one, he wrote a book called The Spirit of Light Qubit. And he spent a good portion of time researching for this book, and it has everything to do with what a qubit is from your elbow to the tip of your finger, and then how that correlates to, the Vitruvian Man, Leonardo da Vinci's Vitruvian Man, and basically how ancient measurements and then correlating them to megalithic structures and spirituality. I actually really, really enjoyed that episode.
Yeah.
I like the background on that too, because I had like the Giza pyramids behind me, and he also had some pyramid behind him, and
you guys really linked up for the backgrounds, and I just have sound walls.
You got to get that green screen going there. I know you've
I might get a real statue behind me.
We should. I'd like to build a pyramid for real.
That'd be sweet.
Just turn one of your rooms in your house to a shrine and just build a small pyramid in there.
Well, look, our grandfather pretty much turned his house into a shrine for.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of this thing? It's called the Gold Pyramid. It's actually not that far. It's outside of Chicago, so it's not that far from me. But this guy, he was like known as the Chicago Concrete King or whatever. Like his business was concrete. He built his house. He built a massive pyramid with like 150-foot tall Egyptian statue near the entrance. You felt like even driving by there, it's like overgrown and stuff now. But at one point, it was covered in gold. And this thing's massive. There's a short documentary online. It's called The Gold Pyramid. I'm pretty sure if you look it up, it's in, I think, Wakanda, Illinois. Wakanda, maybe, I think. I don't know.
Stop by, take a chip off of it. And
Maurice is famous for trying to date these things.
He goes, why is this guy chipping this brick?
So, yeah, go check out the Spirit of Light Cubit book if you have not already. If you like ancient mysteries and spirituality connected to the megalithic structures and stuff, that's right up your alley. Arthur Copeman's. So we did 2 episodes with Arthur. Shout out to Arthur. He runs the blog Secrets of the Norse, or Norse Secrets, I'm sorry. And his thing is like correlating stars and constellations to Norse mythology. In the first episode we did with him, it was all about the correlations and then correlating it to even some of David Matheson's constellation stuff. But then in part 2, since Neowise, that's when Comet Neowise was out in full force, we did a whole part of the episode talking about comets and ancient mythology and all that kind of stuff. So those were really fun episodes with Arthur. So
yeah, that inspired me to go hunt that bad boy.
Yeah, then Maurice went and shot the Comet Neowise and part of one of Maurice's adventure videos. He also saw some weird UFO in that one video. He goes like, should I post this? I'm like, yeah, well, why wouldn't you post it if there was some unknown anomalous thing in the video?
Well, I still don't know what it was, but maybe we'll go up there together this time.
Ooh.
Do.
And then right after that, since I had read one of David Matheson's books prior, but then we had Arthur on, and Arthur was big into his work, and it gave me an idea, well, let's get David Matheson on. So shout out to David Matheson. He's pretty active on Instagram. He has a YouTube channel. He has a blog. And he's got books too, the Matheson Corollary. It's all about constellations and correlating them to ancient mythology and ancient art. I think his newest book is called Myth and Trauma, I believe. Or Trauma and Myth. Myth and Trauma, I think. So shout out to him. We'll get him back on in the future. Moving along here. Shout out to, we'll talk about him in a little bit, but Martin Ferretti, he runs the Alchemical Mind podcast. He's been a huge help. He's helped me with some website stuff, some coding stuff. He also helped set up our Discord channel when we didn't have one. So shout out to Martin. We love you. And he might have something to do with some secret sode thing coming up. I don't know.
Ooh.
And he's really active on our Discord. He's also active at the Alchemical Mind on Twitter. And so check him out. Justin Otto. I believe, Maurice, you weren't there for that one. He runs the Dharma Junkie podcast. Check out his podcast. He covers all sorts of stuff from psychedelics to Buddhism to spirituality, current event type stuff. So shout out to Justin. Let's see here. Anthony Tyler. So we've had Anthony on a couple times now. We've had two young guys that I've been impressed with on the show. One was Jack from the Stripwhip channel. He's done his research. He knows a lot of stuff. And then also Anthony Tyler, who he wrote the book Dive Manual, and it's all about looking at the mysticism and mystery traditions and all that philosophy and all that kind of stuff, and then looking at the empirical side of it, like what do we know or what can we know, and trying to see what's what and kind of trying to figure out what's tangible, what's not. It's kind of what we're all trying to do. But this, he's younger. I don't know how old he's. I think he's like 25 or 26. He's just very advanced for his age in terms of thinking about these kinds of concepts and metaphysics and all that kind of stuff. So check out Dive Manual if you have not already. It's a great book. And you can follow Anthony. He's on Twitter as well. Let's see here. I think his Twitter might be @dive667. Okay, so shout out to Alex from DMT World. He runs the DMT World podcast. Great dude. Shared his story about, his personal story about psychedelics and how they've helped him. And if you have not checked out DMT World, go check that out. It's a similar platform to what Indra's Web is going to be. So if you're familiar with DMT World, you should be able to navigate Indra's Web very easily. So again, shout out to Alex, and also check out the DMT World podcast if you have not already. And I think on DMT World, his name is ALX. So you could probably find him that way. Okay, let's see here. Okay, Ethan Indigo Smith. This was one of the more recent episodes we did on like sacred geometry and philosophy and all that kind of stuff. He's big into Tai Chi. I think he's a Tai Chi instructor. He also knows. A great one. Yeah, he's an author. He's written a bunch of books. Some of them are free online, so I really urge people to check out Ethan's stuff. He's also on Twitter, so you can find him on Twitter. I think he might be on Instagram as well. So shout out to Ethan. We'll have him back on the podcast soon too. Let's see here. Anything you want to add?
No, man. I mean, you're covering every single.
You're damn right.
Every episode ever.
Daddy prepares for the show.
Hey, Big Daddy.
And I know I joke around, but I don't know what I would do. It wouldn't be the same show if I did this by myself. So I truly love you, Maurice. You are
right back at you, my man.
You're a really good co-host, and I know you initially were kind of
not according to Reddit.
I know. I know initially you didn't want to do it. It's not that you didn't want to do it. You just, you're like, what am I going to do? So, and you were thinking about doing like a young Jamie thing and looking things up. And then we realized, that's not really.
I failed at that too.
It's not really how things are going to go. And then you were kind of in a different place completely too when we started this whole thing to where you are now and your outlook on life and things you've been through since then. So I think you really come into your own, and I'm excited to see where that goes and what that means for the podcast going forward.
Well, that actually was one of the episodes I didn't bring up for one of my favorite was my my spiritual awakening one. I just feel like that was a good episode because I could verbalize to some degree what I was going through, and then I also think a lot more people started to respond. I don't know. I just came out of my shell a little bit more, but it was a real awakening in every asset of my life. So cheers.
Yeah, cheers.
And hopefully this new year brings good fortune and health to everybody that's out there listening to us right now. We're ready to
change this thing around. Let's stop thinking, negatively. Let's things aren't going great. Things aren't awesome right now, but let's turn this thing around. Let's positive vibrations, positive thoughts. Tell people you love them. Give people hugs. Start spreading joy. and help people out when you can. And
Well, you can spend your days like an Eeyore type, always with a cloud around you, looking at the bad, or you can become that Winnie the Pooh character and just let the world unfold in front of you and go with the flow.
yeah, and it starts, start to meditate, do some breath work, do some yoga, whatever it is, do your thing, get in the groove, and then get out there and make things happen. That's what we're doing here, and that's what we're trying to do. And hopefully, we've learned a lot. That's the whole point of this podcast, is to put information that we find credible out as we go along. Obviously, I sounded like an idiot for the first 30 episodes. I still sound like an idiot.
Listen, you sound like an idiot to yourself.
I do. It's like
you go back, you sounded like a genius. So it's all relative to time.
You know what it's like? Have you ever gone and listened to like one of your old like gigs or band sessions or something? And you're like, what was I doing?
Yeah.
Like that's kind of the same thing. It's like you evolve your idea of what's good and what's bad. And like if as a musician, when you fuck up or have a hiccup or you're playing or you miss a note or you miss a change or something like that. But the people listening, they don't really know, and they don't unless they're a musician or something, they don't recognize that. It just goes on. So it's similar to that, where you and I know the mess ups and know the fuck ups, but people watching, maybe not. I don't know, but that's how you get better. You got to be somewhat critical of yourself, not overly critical, but properly critical.
Well, if you're not pushing yourself forward, what are you doing?
Shout out to Mr. Nice Guy. Yeah, Maurice, the Tao of Winnie the Pooh. That was one of his big books. And what was the other one? The something of Eeyore.
No, it's something Piglet.
Oh yeah, that's what it is. I read those, but I forgot the whole thing. That wasn't as interesting to me back then as like the Hunter S. Thompson stuff or Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test or any of those books.
Well, we read them all that one semester. It was a real mind melter.
We did. So yeah, Ethan Indigo. Okay, so and then so we get to Matthew Palmieri. That one was a treat. I was actually not that I didn't think it was going to be a good episode, but I really enjoyed that episode in terms of Matthew had an extreme knowledge of substances and or psychoactive compounds and experimental psychoactive compounds. He knew all the players back then and now, and he's been in a lot of different settings and sets and mindsets and has tried many different compounds. So yeah, that was a really good episode. I enjoyed that. He shared his experience with, ayahuasca with datura mixed in, which he said he would never do again, but it was very interesting. He talked that one story about his friend dying on stage or having a near-death experience on stage and then coming back and telling him it's just like 5-MeO or whatever he explained. That was kind of an interesting anecdote.
Yeah, a lot of correlation between that, so there's got to be some kind of truth.
And Matthew, you can check him out. He's on Twitter. He's on Instagram, I believe. He's also on Facebook. He's in our Facebook group on what's it called? It's called Mind Escape, in quotation marks, Ancient Knowledge, I believe, is the name of our group. And he's in there. And he's also got, you can listen to his stuff, Mystic Inc., I believe, on Apple Podcasts. And he's written tons of books. I think a recent one, it was called, what was the name of it? Let me see here. About, it's like death, hug me or something, or that was on the cover. What was the, it's about death and how we shouldn't be scared of death. Oh yeah, it's called Death, a Love Story. So check that out. And he's also, they've made some of his books into plays. I mean, he's been around for a while and he's got a lot of knowledge and he's done a lot of stuff in the community. So check that out. Let's see here. Okay, so yeah, Matthew Palmieri. We also, I think we did a Patreon episode with him. That might have been where that NDE story came from, actually, now that I think about it. So if you're one of our $2 tier patrons, you can check out that episode. So this is kind of interesting. Our buddy, we did an episode with Adam Bramlage, and we talked about microdosing. He's really big into microdosing and different mushrooms and mushroom combinations, lion's mane and, psilocybin, and how they can help and how they're helping certain athletes. And you can follow him at Hummingbird Medicinals on Instagram. And he is also on Facebook. He has a group on Facebook called Flow State Community, or Flow State Community, I think.
Yeah, he's always doing podcasts and stuff like that, so he's getting the word out. And
yeah, he did a podcast with recently with Dr. James Fadiman and the lady that runs the plant medicine podcast. I'm drawing a blank on her mind. Dr. Marie something, I believe. So yeah, you can check out his stuff. But the funny story about him is actually we grew up in the same community, and we didn't really, know him personally or know what he got into until recently. And it's like, oh, we're from the same place, and he's big into microdosing and the whole psychedelic scene, and they're doing these microdose online events right now, which you can still get into. I believe they're going for like a month, so you can check that out. All the information's on his pages. But yeah, and that was actually Maurice's putting that one together.
That was my first guest.
It was a Friends of Friends.
Yeah.
He was actually one of the original members of this band that we were big into in high school and college too, the Natives of the New Dawn.
I'm actually working with their lead singer now. He's became part of my group.
Awesome. So yeah, check out Adam's stuff, and that was a really good episode, and we're probably going to do something with him cool coming up. So when I figure that out, it might be a secret sode, it might not be. I don't know yet, so we'll figure that out. We're getting towards the end here, but shout out to Randall Carlson. Again, Brothers of the Serpent helped set that up. Kyle and Russ, they've been super cool and kind, and they helped, put us in contact with Randall. And if you're interested, Sacred Geometry International is no longer Randall's stuff, so he is not a part of that at all. If you're interested, you can go to randallcarlson.com, or he's on Cosmographia Podcast or Cosmographia on Twitter. And I talked with him a little bit on the phone prior to the episode. Super cool guy, super nice, super kind with his time. When we had him on the show, we did that episode. Randall, I don't know. He gets it, He's just a fun guy to talk to. He's into, obviously, the stuff we're into. Besides all the Younger Dryas, impact stuff and the geology and stuff, he's all into the esoteric and symbology. And we talked a little bit about psychedelics. And, yeah, that was an all-around great episode. Actually, it was one of our more popular episodes, too. The numbers shot up quickly on that one.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, shout out to him. We'll have him back on the future. But again, super kind with his time. Really, really nice guy. And we look forward to having him back on again in the future. We did a really fun Patreon episode with him too. It's like an hour long, and he just goes through sacred geometry and gives us a real lesson there. So shout out to The Signal, or Dan. He's on Twitter at The Signal. Shout out to UFO Twitter. They've been huge. But he's a big part of UFO Twitter. He created that patch, that USS Nimitz artwork patch, which is kind of cool. He's got t-shirts, he's got patches. So you can check him out. Great artist. You can check him out on Twitter. He's also got a Linktree thing there. And we did a Patreon with him too. He's a really nice guy. And so you check out his stuff. And shout out to Les DL. Thank you for the super chat. We love you. Okay. And yeah, any contributions, whether you're a Patreon member or you're giving us super chat, loot, whatever the amazing thing that you're doing, we appreciate all of it.
Thank you.
It does cost money to do the podcast, but I'm happy to, I mean, recently we started to have a little bit more success with all this stuff, but it was never really about making money. It was about putting quality guests and conversations and fun things, like how I would want to talk to people, like what I'm interested in, mysteries and questions I would ask. That's all we're doing. These are things that I'm interested in. I'm not putting, we're not putting on a show for other people. Hopefully, obviously it's entertainment. I know a lot of you find it entertaining, but it's always been about us being just naturally curious on this stuff. So, and if you don't contribute, it doesn't matter, because we love you too.
Well, just being here is
just even watching. If you watch our stuff and you leave us a nice message on Apple Podcast review or a 5-star rating or a thumbs up on YouTube, we love all that. Just be you, and we're just trying to put cool stuff out there. And every view, every like, every review, it's good. It feels good, and I'm glad people are enjoying it, because when you start something like this, you don't know where it's going to go or how people are going to respond, and we're lucky enough that we put ourselves out there. This is really who we are. I think Maurice, other than us maybe joking around a little bit more off screen, which maybe we'll try and implement the comedy stuff a little bit more into the secret sods.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I think we're pretty genuinely you and I. I mean, this is the stuff you and I would talk about as far as weird stuff, right? Like, we don't really change our tones or cadences or the way we talk with each other. This is just who we are.
Right, yeah. We try to be who we are. We try to be as honest as we can, and if people like it, that's awesome. If not, then, there's a million other channels.
Yeah, exactly. And, we don't touch on a lot of topics that other places do. Like, this whole thing has always been about get away from the nonsense, the media, the politics. Come, have fun, learn, get outside your mind a little bit. Let's alter some consciousness. Let's get people thinking outside the box. Let's talk about epistemology, ontology, teleology. Let's talk about where we come from, where we're going, what's purpose, is there purpose, all that kind of stuff. So
onward and upward.
Onward and upward. And then finally, our most recent one, shout out to Ben Holt. Ben is a breathwork expert, and he does these breathwork retreats. They also do entheogen stuff too with Bufo and 5-MeO. He actually just gave us the episode we did some insider info. Hamilton's Pharmacopoeia just came out with an early episode. And the episode is about how he was tricked by Savinelli into thinking that Savinelli was the first Bufo experiencer, when in reality it was this other guy. I want to say, let me pull up his name because I don't want to get this wrong. Let's see here.
But that episode hasn't came out yet?
No, well, they gave on I don't know. I have Hulu, and they came out with an early. Sneak peek of one of the episodes came out early, and the whole episode is him talking about how can we conserve and conservation around the Bufo, Alvarius, and how these toads populations are being decimated. Oh yeah, Ken, that was the guy's name. You're right. Ken Nelson is the real Al Most from that packet. So look, I get my information just like everybody else does, and the only place I knew that was Hamilton's Pharmacopoeia that talked about it, and the Al Most thing, I believed it was that Savinelli guy, and then they come out and it's this other guy from Denton, Texas, named Ken Nelson, and he recently passed away from Parkinson's, but he was the first guy that really, he started looking stuff up about Bufo, and that's why I applaud Hamilton's Pharmacopoeia too, because when he gets something wrong, he'll bring it out. That's what the whole episode was about. Was like he was watching a screening of all the things he got wrong on all the past episodes, and he looks like Howard Hughes. He's got long fingernails and hair, and it's like it's actually pretty funny. But yeah, Ken Nelson's the real Albert Most. So, and the whole thing is about him being at the Bufo conference, and talking about how it's easy to synthesize, so there's no reason to keep punishing these toads. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, it is what it is. But but Ben Holt was telling us all that ahead of time because he had interviewed Hamilton at that conference. So yeah, check out Ben's website, Connect and Evolve, if you're into breath work and all that kind of stuff. So
beautiful.
And again, I did that Patreon where I almost passed out, but I got really,
and you got high.
I got a lot of oxygen. So, and I've done it a few times since. It works. I definitely feel better. So,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a mouth breather, so that's why I didn't know anything about breathing. I'm a terrible breather, so that's why I really enjoyed that episode. But you can follow Ben on Instagram at Connect and Evolve, and again, he does retreats where they do breathwork stuff and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, I've been focusing a lot more on breathing through the nose and just keeping it real, if you will.
Yeah. I think the exercise we did on the Patreon that was called alkaline breath work.
Yeah.
But he was talking all about like the Wim Hof stuff and the the cold plunges and all that kind of stuff. So I'm trying to think here. So yeah, so some honorable mentions. Again, we'll go through Aaron Voot, Dick Kahn. These are people I talk to regularly. It wouldn't be right if I didn't give a shout out to our top escapee, Sandy. She's been, she's one of our top fans, and she's been a huge contributor and spreads the word. And we love you, Sandy. And yeah, she's been one of the top ones. Shout out to Martin again, from the Alchemical Mind. He's been super helpful. We love you, bro, and we're gonna be doing a lot with him going forward. Let's see here. And just our family too. Like my family's been super supportive. My dad, my mom, my stepdad, my stepmom. My wife has been amazingly supportive of me. And, there's times
Good.
where, we don't, my place isn't that big. So
Right.
my office area does kind of attach the rest of the place. So there's
This guy talking about a toad again.
but yeah, shout out to my wife. I love you, Amanda, and you've been super supportive. And I really appreciate you letting me be my creative self.
Well, you got to find someone that'll let you be you, and that's very important.
Absolutely. Again, shout out to Sean Cahill, Chris Wolford, Dr. Gregory Little, Laird Scranton. Anybody that we've had on more than a few times, and yeah, I'm just trying to
shout out to Les.
Yes. Shout out to Les.
Thanks for joining us today, my friend. I know you've been here from the get-go.
Yeah, Les, Mr. Nice Guy. Shout out to Home, Mycology. Again, we're gonna do something with Home coming up here. We're gonna do an episode or figure something out here in the near future.
It's good to see people active in the chat there, and it's fun. It's a fun little atmosphere. Hopefully we can. I remember 2 years ago I was like, well, when we have 5 people watching us, that'll be cool. Now we get an average around between 5 and 10, and hopefully in a year from now we'll have 15 to 20, and it'll just keep growing and growing. And we just want this information to get out there. And
yeah, shout out to, again, to Matt Tiller, the Zignal, Snake Brothers, Chris Emmerson, John Hogan, Rick Strassman, Dr. Gregory Little, Laird Scranton, Tom Lane. Big shout out to Lee Adams. Again, Lee's a close friend. We've talked a lot of stuff. He's been super helpful, and yeah, we're gonna big things with Lee going forward. So shout out to Lee. We love you, man. Let's see here. What else? Yeah, and shout out to you, like I said, Maurice. You've come a long way. I like how you're being more vocal and active, and I think big things to come. And
well, shout out to Michael. Thanks for getting all the guests and reading all the books.
You're welcome. I enjoy it. That's just something I would naturally do. So
I would like to do some episodes maybe on the perception of heaven and hell, and some of these other books that I've been reading. But
Yeah, let's do it. Look, you just let me know. We'll figure out how to do what you want to do. A lot of it's been like my focuses or things I'm into at the moment or whatever, but I know you're getting more and more into this, so just let me know what you want to do and we'll do it, So.
Absolutely. All right, well...
well, no, we're not done because I got to give a shout out to the patrons real quick, okay?
Yeah, babe.
These are our current patrons, and shout out to Matt from Delaware. You are a secret escapee, so you're awesome. We love you. Abraham Hooker, shout out. We love you. Chris Heber, we love you. Lee, we love you. Sean or Sack Mulder on Discord, we love you. You are a secret escapee. Jeff Nash, Laser Printer Jam. That's probably the coolest name that we've got on.
It might be my new band name.
Yeah. Wendy Clear, Celica Arfonia. I think that's how you pronounce it. Shout out to you. We love you. Joseph Bodner. Shout out to you. We love you. Ann Witkowski. We love you. Shout out to you. Martin Ferretti, friend of the show. Of course, we love you, Martin. Tim Kirch. We love you. Justin. We love you. Dick Kahn. We love you. And again, Sandy, we love you. I know you're listening out there. Top escapee status. So
beautiful. Yeah, I wanted to give one shout out to my girl Paula, and she's been a nice little bright light in my life, and she's a big fan of the show too. So shout out down to Ecuador.
Shout out to Paula. I'd love to meet you sometime. I see you in the chats, and I know you make my baby boy very happy. So. No, but seriously, thank you for supporting Maurice and continue to do so, and we appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Let's see here. I think that's it. But again, everybody, we love you. This has been awesome 3 years so far, and it's going to be interesting to see what this is going to look like 3 years from now. Or maybe we evolve, maybe podcasting becomes something else that, we get into that. Or, I've always got my finger on the pulse of what's going on. So who knows?
Big day tomorrow. We're going to shed our skin, and we're going to be pushing off into the unknown, which, again, it's all how you perceive it. So if you approach it like a Winnie the Pooh, we'll be...
No, we got to get this thing going. Love, respect, positive vibes, even if it's still tough for a while. Let's just get through it and get, move on, and there might be some new thing going forward. It might not be the old way, but it might be a new way, and we'll figure that out as we go too. So
pop that logo up. I saw you tickle it, man. The Indra's web. I saw you
tickling that web. Go to indrasweb.org, sign up to get an alert when the app goes live, which will be soon. Again, if you're familiar with DMT World, it will be a similar platform, and it'll be a little different, obviously different topics, but the actual structure and everything. So again, sign up for that. You'll get an alert when the app goes live. One more time, head on over to our Patreon at patreon.com/mindescapepodcast. Each tier has a correlating Discord role. So if you're on Discord, if you haven't joined our channel, please do so. And if you are a patron or want to become a patron, you will be assigned a Discord role for just $2 a month. That'll get you in the door as far as all the exclusive guest episodes and continuation of segments and stuff like that. $5, you'll gain access to fan chat episodes on Discord. So if you want to chat with us and be on one of these episodes where we all talk or take turns talking, that'll be cool. That's $5. You become an escapee. $10, this is the one I'm really focusing on because this is going to be something new. I don't really see this on podcasts and stuff. We're going to do a lot of crazy shit for $10 under Secret Escapees. We're going to be doing experiments on ourselves, We're going to be doing some weird shit. And I do want to do some sort of jamming thing at some point, too. So,
absolutely. I've been getting into the music more and more, and I would love to maybe, expose some of my music for the first time. I don't see a better place to do it than the Mind Escape.
Absolutely. And if all else fails, you can just head on over to mindescapepodcast.com. We have all the links on there. And there's a blog on there. I'm going to be writing another blog shortly here. It's just been a wild 3 years. And like I said, it's fun to see how it's grown. And I look forward to furthering this and see where this thing goes. Anything else?
That's it.
All right. Well, that's all, folks. So we love everybody. Stay safe out there.
Have a good New Year.
Have a good New Year. Again, shout out to No More Mr. Nice Guy, Home Mycology, and Les. And yeah, everybody stay safe out there. Have a happy New Year if we don't talk to you. And we'll be back soon with some amazing content. So, love you. Peace.
Peace.